The Pittsburgh Steelers have won the AFC North title, beating the Ravens 26-24 and sweeping them out of the playoffs. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We talk with Aaron Rodgers, Cam Heyward, TJ Watt, all the Steelers stars in what was a huge upset as the Steelers defy the odds and win the division to head to the playoffs. We got a fun Victory Monday episode lined up for you here. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. A reminder, the Locked On Steelers podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 sports podcasting network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. When you play your first $5 lineup, you'll get $50 in lineups to use on the app. More on them later. Steelers fans, as I say, whenever I pick against the Steelers and they win, I got to wear the bag of shame. I did my part. I've been picking terribly all year. I picked them to lose, and here they are winning. And we take off because Steelers fans, it's a victory Monday here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Again, I'm your host, Chris Carter. What an insane win. It is like 3:30 in the morning. I am still stupefied about what I have seen in this game. We're going to take you into the locker room. We got a lot to talk about, but can't say enough about how resilient this team was in this win and in this season for the Steelers to go throughout the season the way they did, go the ups, the downs, losing last week, not having DK Metcalf last week or this week, the injuries that they sustained all year, TJ Watt's collapsed lung and how he's had to play through that, the rough stretch where they lost 3 of 4 games from October to November, just time and time again being booed by their own fans, the chance to fire Mike Tomlin, and this team rallies to win 4 of 5 down the stretch twice. They beat the Baltimore Ravens and doing so in insane fashion in this game. We got a lot to break down. I mean, first of all, the end is bananas. You know, the kick, very Mike Vanderjagt like with going wide right. Tyler Loop missing the kick with 44 yards at the end of the game after Chris Boswell missed an extra point that could have let the Ravens win the game with that kick. But I got to focus on what the Steelers did to win this game. And of all the times that Aaron Rodgers has shown throughout this season to justify him being the guy, justify the reason why the Steelers waited 4 months to sign him, why everyone thought they were crazy. Even myself, I wasn't keen on the move when they were bringing him in. I'm like, he's going to be 42 in November. How are you going to do this? Man, did he deliver in big ways. The Steelers were 9 of 16 on third downs in this game, and Aaron Rodgers was a big factor in making sure that was something that they were able to do. Mind you, they came into this game as like the 19th best third down offense against a Ravens defense that ranked 9th in third down defense. That's a top 10 third down defense. And they came into the league ranking in the bottom half, and they needed it. They absolutely needed it in this game. Aaron Rodgers finished the game 31 of 47 for 294 yards and a touchdown pass. And, of course, it was that 26-yard touchdown pass that he threw to who else but Calvin Austin, who finished the game with 3 catches for 55 yards and that 26-yard touchdown. The Steelers, I thought, were at time early on. They struggled like they have early, but Aaron Rodgers continues to find things in games to adjust, to hit things. He didn't last week against the Browns. He did, a couple of drives where they didn't finish. But in this game, you saw them start slow, but eventually he started to figure things out. The run game started to pick up, and then he started hitting in the weaknesses of the Ravens defense. And again, without DK Metcalf, the guy who's been his #1 guy and who's kind of teed everything up for everyone else. It was a huge performance I also thought it was interesting hearing Aaron Rodgers talk about that play and how the offense had to pull through without DK Metcalf. I want to give you a chance to listen to him talking about the touchdown and how Calvin Austin wasn't even sure. He asked Calvin, what do you want on this play? Calvin wasn't sure. And someone said, cook him. And man, did Calvin Austin cook him with that hitch and go. I forget who the DB was. I think it was Woozier. He fell for the stutter step. Aaron Rodgers saw him and he threw it. Listen to Aaron Rodgers break that play down and give credit to his playmakers in this game who, again, had to deliver without the guy who was designed to be the number one receiver in DK Metcalf. Here's Aaron Rodgers after the game.
Calvin's the sweetest guy. I mean, he is. Just ever since the Malibu trip in the offseason, just have such a love and appreciation for Cal and his disposition. And multiple times in the huddle, I'm asking him on various plays, what do you want on the backside? What do you want on the backside? And he wouldn't give me a straight answer. And on this particular huddle conversation, I said, what do you want, Cal? He said, and somebody to my right, I don't know if it was McCormick or Pat, said something about like, man, just go cook him or something. So I said, all right, Cal, you run the hitch and go back there. And I was really thinking the front side three-man combination that we worked and had success with most of the night was kind of my first thought. But I just peeked back to the left and saw number 3 slip, and it's a gimme touchdown. But I'm proud of Calvin, and the line really gave me a lot of time all day. They played really well.
What do you think it says about this passing offense? You guys able to make big plays in a big game without DK Metcalf, the guy who's been the leader for you guys a lot this year.
Well, we got a lot of talented guys, a lot of capable guys. Proud of the way that we responded. There's some things that happened in the game that we've been trying to get to the entire season, hadn't really shown up. Like Pat on the second last drive had a big, double up stutter down the middle completion. We've been talking about that thing since Latrobe and haven't really had a lot of opportunities. But he ran just an absolute beautiful route that kind of set us up. Then we had the craziness of the helmet conking out and the personnel groupings we had on the field and the wristband. I mean, it was chaos, but we got to a good call there on third down to run it in, and then the 2-minute drive started off with a nice quick game completion, and I thought we were efficient and had a chance on third down to go to Cal, and he ran a good route and we made it happen.
Well, Aaron Rodgers talking about there, and I'm going to get him talking about Pat Freiermuth in a minute because he gives him a lot of credit, not just for this game, but for all season hanging in there the way that he has. But I think Aaron Rodgers was like, hey, he was wide open, but go back and watch the route when Calvin Austin hits the butter step on the hitch and go. Woozier just loses his feet. He just completely stumbles. He did cook him, and what a moment for Calvin Austin, by the way, who a lot of people have downplayed him throughout this year. And heck, he's gotten hurt. He hasn't had a chance to be as much of a playmaker as you'd like. But in a game where they needed someone to step up, and I said they needed someone to step up and make a big play down the field. And man, did he do it in the clutchest of moments to make that happen. But this game can't be won without several other guys. Jaylen Warren, 14 carries, 66 yards, also caught all 5 of his targets for 33 yards. He combines for 99 all-purpose yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 5 rushes for 10 yards, nothing big there, but he did get the touchdown run that he had. But he also caught 8 of 9 passes for 64 yards. The Warriors that they are, but can't overlook. I mean, and also I'm not trying to pass up on anybody, but Adam Thielen, 3 catches for 43 yards. He comes in. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, we were giving him a lot last week for not being able to make plays. 5 catches for 34 yards, just solid contributions. But Pat Freiermuth, 3 catches, 51 yards, and just how this guy stays locked in when he's not the primary concern continues to show why this team believes in that guy. I still think it's ridiculous that they don't key up more plays for him to be the primary target and feed him the ball, especially when you don't have a DK Metcalf. But listen to Aaron Rodgers talk about, he acknowledges Pat hasn't gotten the bulk of targets, and he could be pouting. And that's something that we saw George Pickens do a lot last year when he wasn't the primary concern, lollygagging in his routes, not finishing. And even when it was time to come back to him, he wouldn't be as locked in. That's never been an issue for Pat Freiermuth. And he came up in a big way in this game multiple times. for 51 yards. I think he had a strike for 14, another strike for 31. The 31 set up the touchdown, I think, for Kenneth Gainwell. Listen to Aaron Rodgers talk about Pat Freiermuth, and I think it'll grow your appreciation as a Steelers fan for not only how good of a player he is, but how good of a soldier he is, and how he's never complained, even when he hasn't been getting the bulk share of the targets or the snaps at tight end. Here was Aaron Rodgers on Pat Freiermuth.
Pat Freiermuth hasn't gotten the bulk of targets this year, but he continues to come up, and it seems like in big moments for you guys. What can you say about his focus to be there when you need him, especially in those huge moments today?
I have a lot of respect for Pat, first and foremost, the way he's handled himself this entire season. Pat is a dynamic player, and with the emergence of Darnell and the big personnel that we've done, he hasn't had as many snaps as he's used to or would have wanted, but not one time this entire year, and he's my locker mate, so I can say this with absolute confidence and 100% honesty, not one time did I hear him complain about his snap count, about anything. It was, there's a lot to be said for that. I think that's a lost part of this league, to be able to humble yourself and kind of lean into the collective instead of making it about yourself week in and week out when he knows he can play. And he made plays last week on the 2-minute, and he made plays in the fourth quarter, really all game. You know, I thought we did a good job. Just little things that you talk about in Latrobe and you hope show up. We had 3rd and 10. We went on a first sound, a center snap by Zach, right, where he just kind of goes up, waits, and snaps it. And they bring strong dog. They bring the mic, and they bring 44 off the slot. And we talked from day one when I got here. I like throwing vertical peaks, first pressure. So start off by looking vertical. And we actually kind of like made eye contact in the huddle and just said, be alert. And then sure enough, he widens slightly like he's supposed to. He catches the ball with his hands. He gets 14 yards, and that's a drive continuer. We talked on through routes. If you get 2-man, double up, take your time, give him an outbreak look, and then go down the middle. And on the second last drive, he ran an absolutely unbelievable route. And it was just perfect. I mean, I'm literally throwing it, kind of laughing at myself, because I'm like, this is it. See, I've been talking about this forever. But I'm just really proud of him. I can't say enough good things about Pat. He is an exceptional human and a great teammate, and there's a lot to be said for that in this league.
There is a lot to be said for that. And I've been banging the drum for more Pat Freiermuth for a while. But dag nabbit, when you hear Aaron Rodgers talking about him that way, I think that's another sign of the appreciation for Pat Freiermuth that's there, that should be there for Steelers fans. I know that, you know, he hasn't been, you know, the super playmaker with the super stats, but he continues to come through for his team when he's called upon, even when he's not called upon, maybe as much as he should be called upon. And, you know, you can argue that. But I think that when you look at how he has handled himself and how it feeds into the energy of this offense. Rodgers has been a leader, but you see all these guys pitching in. Also, can't say enough about the offensive line. I feel terrible that I haven't said anything. It's 13 minutes plus into this episode, and I haven't said they blocked so well for Aaron Rodgers, giving him time to see the field and make plays. Just they deserve so much credit for how well that they played in this. And so I really think the Steelers are in a very good place right now with the way this offense figured some things out. And something else Aaron Rodgers said that I thought was very interesting is, you know, them being able to win a game like this is the kind of stuff that can get you to start believing in yourself, in your team. And that's the kind of stuff that could be something that helps the Steelers get over the hump as they move forward. We still got a lot to talk about. Got to talk about the defense. They certainly gave up their fair share of big plays, but there was one guy who was carrying the load, and that was Mr. Cam Heyward. I want to talk about him. I want to talk about this team, how resilient they've been. We'll get to all of that here next on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by Drip Drop. You're kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? Well, honestly, hydration is the easiest win you can have. When I stay on top of it, my energy, my focus, and my mood levels are all up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it, especially when you're grinding through long days, you're hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. It's doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work together. You think clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, even that fresh skin glow. I love that it uses a precise ratio of electrolytes and glucose for rapid absorption, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. Drip Drop's science-based backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. They have flexible subscription options, so you're never stuck without it, whether you're hitting the gym, juggling work, or just staying consistent with your goals. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com. Again, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. We're also brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge. But with Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never slows down, and Prize Picks lets you stay in control. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on your player projections. No drafts, no waiting. Just pick more or less and then play your way. Getting started on Prize Picks is quick and simple. The app is super easy to navigate. It's made watching games more engaging, especially when following individual performances. I love the flexibility options like Flex Play, where you can still get paid even if one pick misses. The early payout feature is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter here, just going over us. What's still an insane win. I mean, and I've seen some insane wins, y'all. I've covered in my days before I was on Locked On the 39-38 win they had over the Ravens back in 2017 when they had that one. The week after Shazier got paralyzed, that was pretty nailed. But just this one just continued to defy the odds. And another guy that continues to defy the odds is Cam Heyward. He finishes the game leading the Steelers with 7 tackles in this one. Didn't get a sack, but I'd love to see his pressure numbers after this game. But he was just everywhere, man, chopping things down. He was the one that batted the pass that TJ Watt intercepted. Just a huge game from him. And for Cam Heyward just to be doing this, man, he's been doing this since 2011, man. He was the first round pick of the 2011 draft. Here he is in year 15, and he's still balling out like he's not 36 years old. He'll be 37 in May. It's insane. And I don't think it's appreciated enough. And I got to say this. All the people that was boo-hooing him asking for a couple $1 million. Oh, this Cam Heyward, why is he asking for more money? Shut up. He earned it. And frankly, I think it's really disappointing considering this fan base is supposed to be one that appreciates their stars and their history and the guys. Again, Cam Heyward's from here, man. And people were giving him grief about that. Well, I hope you look at yourself and you say, I shouldn't have did that. I hope if you tweeted at Cam Heyward and called him selfish or something else, I hope you're like, hey, shouldn't have done that. Maybe we think about that the next time we do something like that, because he has earned every penny. And I think he showed he's worth much more than being, I think, even with the pay boost that he got, he's still the 14th or 15th highest paid defensive tackle or something like that. Come on, man. I think Cam Heyward balled out of his mind, and so did his teammates. And TJ Watt had a lot to say about him, and there's some nice, funny moments in this upcoming clip because TJ, I think is very happy to see Cam playing the way he is, but also to make fun of him not being able to fit the AFC North champions hat that the Steelers had. You'll see all that here. Listen to TJ talk about Cam, and then listen to Cam and his motivation when he talks about why he works the way he works to be as good as he is at 36-year-old, where he is out-snapping every other defensive tackle in the NFL at his age. Here are TJ Watt and Cam Heyward talking about Mr. Cam Heyward.
What can you say about
last
Cam
two,
Heyward?
and then we'll bring Cam in.
What can you say? He's coming in. What can you say about Cam Heyward? It seemed like he was fighting every play, like he always is. But and you two, as teammates, for all the battles that you guys have been through, especially against this team.
Yeah, I mean, took a big hit on the first play of the game too, and he was right back out there the next play or a couple plays after that, and just always around the football, man. The defensive tackle at 45 years old is incredible. Just awesome to have him as a teammate, honestly. Just the leadership. Gave a great speech last night, gave a great speech today. It's important to win, and there's certain people you want to deliver wins for, and he's definitely one of those guys. So I know he might not be able to fit this hat, but I'm excited that he's got one.
I give you credit as just being a guy who joked in college that you were 45 years old, but still chasing guys down all around the field, always being around the ball. You also said you couldn't fit the hat.
But I wasn't putting on the hat for a reason. I want a different hat, so you know.
But what do you look back on just how you approach every season with giving yourself this ability at your age to play as much as you do? You lead all defensive tackles and snaps in the NFL.
It's an opportunity to hopefully have a chance to win a championship. I work my tail off in the offseason to be ready for my teammates. And, you know, I'm not ready to start my offseason. And, you know, I think back to that first play. I'm running my ass off, and then James Pierre hits me in the hip, and I'm like, shit, why am I running to the ball? But, you know, I've been instilled by a lot of great players here. I learned from a lot of just special players. Troy, Brett, Aaron Smith, Casey Hampton. Guys that didn't even play with Joey Porter. Like, they've all been in my ear. And, you know, even when I didn't want to hear it, they were honest with me. And I just appreciate the guys who came before me, the guys who taught me how to be a professional. This game is about passing on, you know, good fortune to a lot of other players. Hopefully I've done the same, but I'm just honestly jealous of them. They have something that I don't have, and you know, when they all come back for their reunions, you know, I want to be able to, you know, have some hardware one day.
I'm telling you, man, if you want to run through a wall when you hear that Cam Heyward talking about the legends and what motivates him and how he keeps going, he's truly deserving of everything he gets. He deserves, I think, a lot more than what people give him credit for. He played out of his mind in this game, and it was needed because the Steelers needed to curtail the Ravens' rushing attack. And though the numbers do say, hey, Derrick Henry, I said going into this game, the Steelers had never won when Derrick Henry rushed for over 100 yards against them. Well, they broke that. He ran 20 times for 126 yards, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. But a lot of that came in the first half. I haven't had time to fully tabulate things because it's been a wild night. I'm here recording. I just hit 4 a.m. as I'm recording this. But I think Derrick Henry might have rushed for something like 20 yards in the second half, something really low. It's something we'll be able to clarify when we get full time to break down all the stats. But just a remarkable job by the Steelers defense to adjust and take away the run. And listen, I'm not here saying that the Steelers defense did everything right because they got cooked, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. But listen to TJ Watt talk about what they had to do against the run, because the Ravens popped a big run early. I think it was 41 yards. They had some really big runs early on, but they adjusted. They got back to what they needed to do, and ultimately they made Lamar Jackson have to win the game with his arm. You almost did, but the fact that they made it be about that, I think, shows that they did improve against the run. Here was TJ Watt talking about that after the game.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously the first play of the game they had a good scheme of what we've done in the past, and after that they had a couple good runs. But I mean, we really stopped them from there on out, especially coming out of halftime. We just really wanted to blow up on the run, knowing what they wanted to do. It all just comes down to gap sound football, getting hands to the ball, trying to strike at the football as much as we possibly could, and we just played with a lot of energy tonight, a lot of passion, a lot of want to, and I'm just really proud of our guys.
What was the adjustment that you guys made that you saw that they were doing that you guys had to adjust against to stop that run in the second half?
Just running the ball, just commitment to it. I think it's just, I mean, anytime you watch a run play, it's always someone out there gap, someone missing a tackle. There's nothing mystical to any of it, and it's just about when one thing goes wrong, we can't all try to fix it. We all just have to know that the next play we're all going to do our job. Once you start trying to play Superman ball is when you're in trouble.
So right there, I mean, you see Watt breaking it down. I think first of all, the Superman ball we was talking about, the superhero ball, that's been the Steelers' problem for a while, going back to last year. It's something that when the run defense has been out of sorts and they've allowed the big plays, there's always someone jumping out of their gap to try to help somewhere else where they think someone else is in trouble. Stick to your jobs. And there were times where I think the Ravens busted a few plays and the Steelers could have folded. They could have gotten into that. And I think that's something that they did a lot last year when Derrick Henry did run them over and over and over again, and they weren't able to do it. But they didn't do that in the second half, and it really took away what the Ravens wanted to do in this game. Now, did the defense give up some big plays? Yes. And they could have been the big plays that crushed them. Turned out they weren't, but this team was resilient against that. They kept battling back, and I think that is what makes this Steelers team different. And I do think that's a Mike Tomlin element to this team heading into the playoffs, and something that's going to be vital for this team if they want to at least get one playoff win and keep their season alive, as they'll face the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football next week. But we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about that resilience, what I saw going wrong in the coverage, and what they need to clean up next for next week as we continue it here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. New year doesn't require a new you, maybe just a less burdened you. We all carry things that weigh us down or hold us back, and therapy can help you identify what those things are by offering an unbiased perspective to better understand your relationships, your motivations, and your emotions. That's where BetterHelp comes in, making it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist who can help you work through what's holding you back. All BetterHelp therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and work according to a strict code of conduct. BetterHelp makes the first step easier by connecting with you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. They do the matching for you. A short questionnaire identifies your needs and preferences with over 12 years of experience. They typically get it right the first time. If you're not happy with your match, you can switch to a different therapist at any time. With over 30,000 therapists and an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars based on over 1.7 million client reviews, BetterHelp has served now over 5 million people globally, and it works. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Get 10% at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon. We're also brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season's in full swing, and there's nothing like being at the big game, the crowd noise, the energy, cheering alongside other fans. And some of you were at Acrisure Stadium for the Steelers against the Ravens. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium is different. So get tickets. Avoid waiting in queues, dealing with logins by getting to Game Time, because the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and NFL experiences in just a few taps. You can pull up the Game Time app and check out the upcoming NFL games with the Steelers' upcoming home playoff game, and first home playoff game that you can attend since 2018 when they played the Jaguars. Because remember, that Browns game was during the COVID season where you couldn't get to the game. So if you want to get great deals, go to Game Time right now, download the app, and you can use the benefits that they have, like zone deals, which is a great new feature that save money while finding great seats. You pick a section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. Every time you buy with Game Time, fees are included up front, so the price that you see is exactly what you play. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time app today and get back to being there live. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We wrap up our show here today to talk about this Steelers team. And again, the resilience that it took to respond in this game, because they made their fair share of mistakes. It was definitely something that happened in this game. You wanted to be cleaner. You wanted to be better there. But I think there's not enough that can be said about how this team fought back. And listen, the long touchdowns that they gave up, the Steelers were selling out on the run a few times and got lost. This is part of what Lamar Jackson does to you sometimes when you're so locked in on trying to watch for the potential option run or the backside run. Some guy leaves their responsibility. I think it was Jalen Ramsey on the last long touchdown. The second long touchdown was definitely just, the Steelers sent a blitz. They got two guys on him. Alex Highsmith had a free look on Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson made a spectacular move and made him and Keanu Benton miss, and then just threw a perfect pass on a dime to Zay Flowers. Just a spectacular play there. But then the two times I think that he did hit that where there was a coverage bust, I think it was Jalen Ramsey. I could be wrong. But then Jalen Ramsey also got a chance to make a play on that 4th and 7 ball in the fourth quarter that set up what could have been the game-winning field goal, and he just lost out on the ball to Isaiah Likely. I felt like this was a rough game for Jalen Ramsey. He was seen leaving the locker room before we could get in there. But the thing was with this game is at all times, you never saw the Steelers lose hope, and you never saw them bow down to the pressure, which there were times we questioned on this show. I talked about after the way they lost to the Bills, after the way they lost to the Chargers, after the way they lost to the Packers. I was like, there's a problem here because there wasn't fight. In those second halves, you saw like the Steelers were going to the first half, they duke it out, it'd be tight, they'd come out. They remember that Bills game, they were up 7-3, and they had the ball, everything was in their hands. And then Aaron Rodgers hit, fumble, touchdown, Bills take full control, Steelers can't do anything after that. And you saw just the lack of fight in those games. And we talked about that. And that was a problem. And I said, that's on Mike Tomlin because he has to have this team motivated and ready to go. But in this game, and really for pretty much the second half of the season, after they got out of that stretch of games, in the last 5 weeks that they've played, they won 4 out of these last 5 games. They haven't bowed down to the pressure. They've responded. Even in the Browns' loss, as disappointing as that was, they could have had this. They could have had this game not matter anything and rested guys, but they were in that game the whole way. They never bowed to the pressure. They just made mistakes, couldn't convert in the end, and they lost out. But if you look at how they fought back in these games, you remember against the Ravens the first time, the Ravens were making their fair share of big plays. The Steelers kept punching back. The Dolphins, they kind of led the Dolphins for most of the game, but they put the Dolphins away early enough, and the Dolphins got some garbage time points that didn't matter. And then against the Lions had several big plays. They had a chance. The Lions, the top scoring offense in the NFL, could have won the game. They didn't. They kept them out in the end. And then here you have this Ravens team, several big chances. I mean, Lamar Jackson, this was for all the talk, some people are out there saying, oh, the Ravens should get rid of Lamar Jackson. I feel if you're a Steelers fan, you're saying, please get him out of the division. Even though the Steelers are 3-7 against him all the time or something crazy like that. They beat him a lot. He does not make it easy. And he is not the reason why they lost this game. He played spectacular. In fact, he's the biggest reason why they were in the game in the first place. But at the same time, The Steelers bouncing back from those mistakes, coming back and fighting. There was a clip. I didn't have a chance to clip up everything. Otherwise, this show wouldn't come out until like 8 a.m. But TJ Watt said to Cam Heyward at one point that like when they gave up that second long touchdown or the third long touchdown, TJ said to Cam Heyward like, "Oh, Aaron's got us," and Cam was like, and Cam even acknowledged that after the game too. And there's a confidence in this team right now, in each other. Aaron Rodgers believes in the defense. The defense believes in Aaron Rodgers in this offense. And maybe something could have been kindled this week. Maybe a belief. When you win a game like this, in the fashion that they do, you punch your own ticket into the playoffs. That's the kind of stuff that can motivate you and say, we can do this. The Steelers aren't going to be a team that anyone's looking for in the playoffs. Everyone's looking at the Bills because they got Josh Allen. They're looking at the Broncos because their defense looks crazy. They're looking at the Patriots with Drake May, who's on an MVP level play. The Jaguars have been hot. The Texans, who they're about to play, have won 9 straight. Everyone's talking about every other Justin Herbert. Everyone's talking about every other team except the Pittsburgh Steelers. And maybe that's exactly how you want this to be, because the Steelers are 10-7. By the way, 10-7, I think, for a third straight year. I mean, I know Mike Tomlin gets called Mr. 9-8, but in the 5 seasons that there has been 17 games, he's been 9-8 once, and he's been better than 9-8 4 times. I think that there is a large percentage. I'm going to do this number crunch later and probably tweet about it. There's a fair share of coaches who have either been 9-8 or worse several times during that stretch. But Mike Tomlin gets labeled as Mr. 9-8. You wonder why that is. He's only done it once. Been better than it for 3 straight years. 3 games above 500. That's not mediocre. Winning double-digit games for 3 straight years and 4 out of 6 years, that's not mediocre. Now, the Steelers got to go in a playoff game. Sure. But bottom line is, I think it's the 4th straight year, maybe the 6th straight year, the Steelers have beaten the projections that Vegas gave them on what their odds would be to win how many X amount of games. And I think in 5 of the last 6 years, they've had a different starting quarterback at the start of the season than the previous year. This Steelers team has found crazy ways to win over the years, and they continue to find crazy ways to win because they stay locked in. It's something that Cam Heyward, and again, you're a person who appreciates Cam Heyward. I wish I had more time to clip up what he said about Mike Tomlin and how he keeps thinking. He said he stirs the pot. He challenges guys. He calls guys out in the meetings. Now, he's not going to do that for you and me at the podium. That's not his job. His job is not to fire you up, the fans. His job is to fire up these players. And they were fired up for this game. And sure, there were guys that had shortcomings. It happens. But they stayed locked in. The continuity he brings makes it possible. I think he deserves praise for that. I think this team deserves praise for that, for buying in and what they've done. I think, like I said, Aaron Rodgers for his leadership, Cam Heyward for his leadership. I think this was a game where you saw the leaders lead and you saw the guys make plays. I know I dinged on Alex Highsmith for missing the sack that he had a chance on, but I thought Alex Highsmith still played a very good game because he did have a sack on Lamar Jackson. And there were several things that he took away in the run game. Nick Herbig getting a sack in this game and almost had another one if Lamar Jackson doesn't make a Ben Roethlisberger-like crazy throwaway while he's in the grasp of Nick Herbig. Derek Harmon gets a sack chasing down Lamar Jackson. And I think that was a play where Alex Highsmith pressured Lamar Jackson to get out of the pocket, and Derek Harmon chases him down. But this was a huge game. They held the Ravens to 4 out of 12 on third downs. Mind you, the Ravens, again, we talked about third down and the other way. The Ravens were the 12th best third down offense coming into this game. The Steelers were the 25th best third down defense. And they pretty much shut them down on third downs. This team is resilient. It's tough. It's gritty. And it finds a way to fight back even when the odds are against them and they go up against adversity. That's what you want out of a football team. When you don't have the biggest, the baddest, the fastest, you don't have the super stat makers, you're not dominant in every form of the game. You don't have a stacked roster. You need a team that fights. You need a team that says, we're going to come in here and figure this out. And for the 10th time this season, they did. And because they did, and sweeping, by the way, the Ravens, and this is supposed to be the Ravens' year. If you read the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, by the way, you should, post-gazette.com. If you read the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, you know I picked the Ravens as to win the Super Bowl this year. I thought this was their year. They're going to finally make it work. Lamar Jackson, they're not even in the playoffs. And they're not in the playoffs. Why? Sure, you could say they lost some other games here and there, but they're not in the playoffs because of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Ravens ended the Steelers season last year in the playoffs. The Steelers ended it before they could even get there this year. Bit of retribution there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they've got a week to turn it around and get their first playoff win since their win over the Chiefs back in 2018. Was that? No, 2017 was when they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. Still the only team in NFL history to beat Andy Reid in the playoffs when he's coming off of a bye at home. But they have a chance against the Texans team. We'll have time to look at that Texans team, but we still got to go through everything through this game. I still got to do my Stars and Skulls grades. That'll come out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. We're going to be breaking down film as well for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, so be on the lookout for that. It should come out either Tuesday or Wednesday. But Steelers fans, enjoy this Victory Monday in what is another classic Steelers-Ravens game at the size of the division, maybe the biggest one since the Immaculate Extension. When we come to when we're talking about the regular season games between these two teams, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are AFC North champs. By the way, since 2020, the Steelers have won the AFC North as many times as Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and Joe Burrow and the Bengals. The Steelers have been rebuilding for most of those years. I think it says something else about Mike Tomlin being able to get this team to compete even against MVPs and Heisman winners, as Cam Heyward called them. We got a lot more to break down this week. We got Stars and Skulls coming out tomorrow. We got more looks at what the Texans are. We're going to try to get on as many guests as we can to get you ready for a playoff game at Acrisure Stadium / Heinz Field. The first time that fans can attend such a playoff game since the Jaguars game that they lost at the end of the 2017 season in 2018. We'll get to it all here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. Wherever you get your social media, it's at Carter Critiques. You can read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. You can find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of those daily Monday through Friday episodes. Back here tomorrow with Stars and Skulls grades here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.